Believe it or not, it is episode 158 of Cocktails in the War Room. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mistress Carrie, and every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern, we get together here in my war room as we've been doing, riding out the pandemic, episode number 1, airing on March 14th of 2020. We did 80 shows in a row, and then last summer we turned the show into a weekly show, and this is where we get together every Tuesday night at 8:30 to talk about what's going on in the world, talk about music, and basically just try to not go totally insane with the way that the world is right now. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Wednesday the Goth Pug, who can be found right there. That's her handle on Instagram. Say hi, Wednesday. Can I move your camera down for you? There you go. You want to say hi to everyone? Show everybody your wiener? For anybody that's new to the show, if you've never joined us here in the War Room before, please hit me up in the comments. Let me know that this is your first time joining us on the show, and let me know where you're watching from. And if you don't know who Wednesday is, well, she has been my co-host all along. Wednesday, come over here. Come over here. Sit down. Wednesday's been my co-host. She has been the one that keeps me from... Sit down. No, you got to show everybody your beautiful face. Sit down and sit. Are you trying to sit? Is the wiener in the way? Is that what's happening? Is the wiener in the way? There you go. Good girl. So Wednesday has been my co-host and my best pal, and she's the Ed McMahon to my Johnny Carson and the Wayne to my Garth, or the Garth to my Wayne. Hey, don't sit. Back up. Can you get down for me? Good girl. Good girl. Here you go. She likes to do tricks sometimes, and then usually when the cookies run out, she bails on the show. So you got to get in all the pug cuteness while you can. Is that a dog wiener? Yes, Jonathan. It is her wiener. It is for dogs. It is huge. It's bigger than she is, and she drags it around the house. This is Wednesday's wiener, and it crinkles, and there's a squeaker. Where's the squeaker? Did you break the squeaker? Where's this? We lost the squeaker in the wiener. Where is it? Where is it? Is it in? I guess the wiener doesn't squeak anymore, but it did have a squeaker in it at one point. This is Wednesday's wiener. Wednesday is addicted to toys and plays with all of the toys all the time, to the point where every night before I go to bed, I go around the house and collect all of the toys and put them in her basket for the next day. I just booped you with the wiener, Wednesday. I booped you with the wiener. But yeah, Wednesday loves to play with toys. So basically here in the war room, hey, you're going to move your camera if you do that. Get down. She likes to climb up on the coffee table, and it takes me time every night before the show to like get her camera perfect so that you can see her cute little fuzzy face when we're sitting here in the war room. And then she likes to climb on the table because that's where the cookies are. And then she moves the camera, and then you just end up staring at her pug hole the whole time, which is one of the terms you will find in the dictionary in my blog at mistresscarrie.com. We have a whole language here in the war room, and there's all kinds of terms and jokes and things, and we don't want to leave anybody out. So if you're new here in the war room, you got to read up on the dictionary and get caught up on all the terms, because there's a lot of stuff, and we don't want you to be left behind. So welcome back, Paul. What's up, Mr. Burrito? Hey, do you see her? She's moving her camera. Hey, stop moving your camera. What are you doing? You don't move the camera. You don't go on the coffee table. You just sit nicely and look up here. See the camera up there? Yeah. That's so everyone can see your beautiful fuzzy face. But you can't be fresh and just climb on the table. Do you not see all of Mummy's hard work here? You see all the stuff? We got people. Auntie Anne's joining us in the war room tonight. What's up, Ralph, Ryan? Bridget's joining us. Jonathan's in here, as is Trina. Keith is here. For anybody that's new, cheers to you, and also cheers to everyone in the war room family, as they have all nicknamed themselves. Yeah. It's been a week, so let's have a little bit of a cocktail. Copper mug, by the way, means I'm having a Moscow Mule, so cheers to you guys. I like it with 2 limes. And I like the ginger beer. Spicy. It's fantastic. Wednesday, are you going to come back over here? Sit down. Sit down. Sit. Sit. Good girl. Do you want to show everybody how you give me a high five? You want to do my high five? High five. Good girl. There you go, Zero. Wednesday's best friend Zero has been joining us in the war room a lot on Tuesday night. So they're like the odd couple. Zero's like a big, majestic canine dog, like a regular sized, normal sized dog. And then there's Wednesday, who is this little nugget over here, and she can lick her own eyeballs. So there's a little bit of a difference. But Zero teaches Wednesday how to be a dog, which is really good. Drinking a Jack and Ginger tonight, says Paul. Eric says, hello, Wednesday. All the toys should come with a squeaker. They do, but then they eat the squeakers, and then the toy is left behind, sans squeaker. Dave says, bottoms up. Shannon says, hi, Zero. So say hi to Shannon. What are you doing? You're scratching at me to... Is it because you want a cookie? Come over here and sit down. Sit. Down. Good girl. Can I have a... No, sit. Can I have your paw? Can I have the other one? No, I want that one. No, that one. Good girl. Can I have a high five? There you go. Okay, this is your last one. That's it. Come here, Zero. Come say hi, Zero. There she is. A little Zero love for you tonight. It's Mutt and Jeff. Exactly, Eric. It's like Mutt and Jeff. Drinking hot chocolate with marshmallows, says Bish. Oh, nice. The numbers and diamonds are badges. Wait, what does that mean, Thomas? I don't understand what that... Brandon says, why did Greg Hill make that WAF post today? I have no idea. This is why I gave my pug human toys. I never get killed by the pug. Let's see. I'm hydrated, says Mark. Hey, Carrie, saying hi from 6 to 1. What's up, Fitzy? I got your email, by the way. I haven't had a chance to go through all the songs yet, but Fitzy and I have known each other a very long time. And it's so cool now that I can start actually like going to shows again to get reunited with people that I haven't seen in so long. And you know, when you haven't seen somebody in a really long time and then you see them and it's like you saw him yesterday and all you can do is kind of laugh at all the dumb shit that you did like years ago. I mean, so many bands like, you know, Null Set, Gangsta Bitch Barbie, Seventh Rail Crew, like all of those, Tea House the Almighty, like all of these amazing local bands that were there like in the early days of AAF for me on the air, late 90s, early 2000s. We drank a lot of booze back then. We did a lot of dumb things, a lot of amazing things, but it was such a crazy time in music with all of the amazing national bands that were out there. But then we had this amazing, hey, you're interrupting me. Sit. But then there were all these amazing local bands too. And we had such a vibrant local rock scene for so long that it's just really nice to be able to reconnect and to see that, you know, we still have this amazing live music scene. It's just, it's harder now. There are less venues to play. There's less outlets for promotion for these bands. What? Why are you clawing at me? I don't have any more cookies for you. See how she's looking at me with the eye? See the eye right there? She's giving me that fuck you eye because I don't have any more cookies. That's all there is. You've already had more cookies. You didn't even have to poop outside to get them. You're welcome. She's just looking at me. Would like to go to a show, but I don't want to get peed on. Oh my God. Did you guys see that story about the lead singer from Brass Against that played the Welcome to Rockville show down in Daytona at the Speedway over the weekend? Now, if you're a newer up and coming band on a massive festival and you're looking to break out and get some promotion, producer Mike and I were texting each other about this. In case you guys didn't see it, there's video online. The police are actually investigating. I don't know if she's going to get in trouble or not, but the lead singer of this band, Brass Against, who played the Welcome to Rockville Festival over the weekend, said on stage in between songs that she really had to pee. And she didn't have time to go to the bathroom before the band had to take the stage. Those festival shows, and they move. And the bands are not allowed to be late because it's like a domino effect. If every band is a minute late, by the time you get to the headliner, everything's late, and there's always a curfew, and you're not going to cut the headliner off. So anyway, at some point in the show, a willing volunteer basically violated every COVID protocol that could possibly exist because this guy willingly laid down on the stage and she pulled her pants down and peed on his head on stage at the Welcome to Rockville Festival. What? Yeah, I mean, I know urine's sterile, but still, we don't need to, do we need to go there? And what's funny is that a lot of the music, like magazines that are online, then started publishing articles about artists that have peed on stage before. And there was a lot of them. And yeah, it's just crazy. Michael says Shinedown's coming to the Palladium. Actually, it's Smith & Myers that are going to be at the Palladium. And that is a Pike FM Presents show on December 8th. And tickets are on sale right now. Yes, guys, it was so gross. Of course, I watched the video though. Like, and here's the thing. So I'm texting with producer Mike and we're watching the video at the same time. And it went from, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Oh my God, like this is violating COVID protocols. Like, can you get COVID by pee? Like we're literally texting back and forth. Then we get to the point of the video where she like is done peeing and she goes to like pull her pants up. And I text Mike and I'm like, she has a really nice bum though. And Mike's like, yeah, she does. And I'm like, she totally just peed on that guy's face. So gross. By the way, the Welcome to Rockville Festival just announced next year's headliners. Usually the festival happens in May, but it happened this month because it had to get pushed back from earlier this spring. They've already announced the headliners for next year. It's happening again at the Daytona International Speedway, and it's a 4-day festival, and the headliners are Kiss, Korn, Guns N' Roses, and the Foo Fighters, which is pretty massive. And that's going to be like a week and a half before the Foo Fighters are in Boston at the Boston Calling Festival, which, you know, got pushed back because of COVID as well. So that was full on Cheez-It, says Mickey. Yeah. It's all Cheez-It all the time. I don't think Wednesday's coming back. So I'm going to make my screen regular size again and turn off the pug cam because I don't know where she went. Let's see. Yes, what a classy broad. Exactly, Annette. But here's the thing, though. Everyone in rock and roll is talking about her and her band right now. I mean, depending on if she gets in trouble, sorry, you can see the wiener. You know, depending on if she gets in trouble, is she going to get arrested for indecent exposure? I don't know. Like, it's like $1,000 fine and she could possibly face a year in jail. Like, yeah, it's just crazy. Jen says, did you see Journey and Billy Idol and Toto, by the way? That tour is coming to the TD Garden. But yes, that tour just got announced. I have been updating the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com like crazy. We got a lot of shows to get to in the music headlines coming up in a little bit on the show. Let's see, a lot of great concerts coming. I have been telling you guys, we talk about this every week, but I'm telling you it's a great idea for the holidays. You're not going to have to go out and shop for people. I am telling you, buy concert tickets or ask for concert tickets for gifts for the holidays this year. First of all, you don't have to buy anything. Second of all, you don't have to wear pants while you're like you don't have to buy anything, meaning you don't have to go to the store. You don't have to wear pants. And there's going to be so many shows coming next year that people that love rock concerts are not going to be able to afford to go to all of them. And so it also is going to give you that delayed kind of, oh, you gave me a gift that I thank you, but the show's not till May. And then May comes around and you're like, oh my God, I have these tickets to go to this show. I got them for Christmas. How awesome. And it's the gift that keeps on giving and you're going to get credit for all of that. So I would definitely ask for concert tickets and I would give concert tickets this year. Not only that, but it's going to be difficult for all of the bands that have been waiting to go on tour to be able to sell out all of these shows. Because like I said, people are going to have limited funds and these bands have been struggling to either get on the road or stay on the road because of COVID. Bands like Stone Temple Pilots had half their tour canceled because Bush pulled themselves off the road. STP gets out on the road and then has to cancel a bunch of shows because somebody on the crew tested positive. It's, the bands need our support. So do the crews. So do the merch people. Let's see. Paula says concert tickets are a great idea. I would love getting them as a gift. No, you don't have to wear it. You have to wear pants to the concert, Keith. You don't have to wear pants while you're buying the tickets at home in the privacy of your own home on the interwebs. Anybody taking mobile ticketing? So there are a lot of mobile ticketing stuff, like the Xfinity Center was doing the mobile ticketing this year, where your tickets basically download onto your phone and you scan them at a scanner to get into the show. And it makes it easy to digitally transfer tickets. So if you want to give them to a friend or whatever, it makes it easy to do that. But it is a little weird because you don't have that physical ticket. So you better have your phone charged when you get to the show, because it would really suck to have your tickets on a phone that's not charged and then you can't get in. And just a reminder, there are still a ton of shows that we're going to talk about in the music headlines tonight. Double check the COVID protocols for the venue and the tour before you leave the house, because they change all the time based on the band, based on the venue, based on the city ordinances, the state protocols. Things are changing all the time, and you don't want to get to a show, that you've been looking forward to go to, that you spent really good money on the tickets and then not be able to get in. So, producer Mike joining us. Mike, we were just talking about the girl from Brass Against that peed on the guy, and that you and I were texting about it, and that she has a nice bum. All right, let's see. Take your negative card test with you, absolutely, but you may need vaccinations for some of them. It depends. You might need a mask for some of them. So it's just going to depend. So just do yourself a favor and just double check the show before you actually get there. All right. We got a lot to talk about, kids. There's a lot going on. The first thing I want to do is recap last week's podcast episode 75 of the Mistress Carrie podcast, sponsored by our friends at Digital Federal Credit Union at dcu.org. And producer Mike, who's joining us here on the show, he was the producer on my trip to Afghanistan in 2011. We did a recap, I believe it was episode 15 of the Mistress Carrie podcast, of our trip, which at the time was 9 years ago. This ended up being the 10-year anniversary. And so I wanted to go back and talk about the trip to Iraq 15 years ago, the Boston to Baghdad trip, and I had a different producer. I had a really bad track record of convincing people that I worked in the building with at different radio stations to go to war zones with me. And then after they got home from those war zones, they ended up leaving the company. I'm 2 for 2, by the way. But producer Joe, we call him Combat Joe because he definitely became a changed man in Iraq, which he talks about in this week's episode. He works in New York now and has a fantastic radio job. I could not be more proud of him. He is doing unbelievably well. We don't get to see each other all that often. And unfortunately, the last time we got together was at the funeral of one of the guys that we were embedded with in Iraq, which sucks to have to go to these funerals. Mike and I have had to go to them for guys we met in Afghanistan. And going to funerals is really hard, but especially when it's somebody that you put your life in their hands and you are forever indebted for that to them, and then they're gone, and it really sucks. And so I wanted to have Joe on the show because 15 years is a long time, and we were going over pictures and kind of telling stories. And Shannon says another great episode. Let's see. Kathleen says, great episode. Elsa says it was an amazing podcast. War and Carrie change a man, says Brito. Let's see. I love Joe's podcast, but my heart dropped when he joked about not liking producer Mike. I was about to get mad at him. So Mike, producer Mike's here in the war room with us. Mike, I don't know if you listened to the episode yet, but at one point we were talking about going to our old marketing director, Bill's wedding, and that I got to take pictures with Mike and Joe in the same photo, which is great because they are the only two guys that really understand the experiences that I had overseas. And Joe deadpan says, I don't like Mike, right? And like my heart sank because I was like, wait, what? And then he was like, no, I'm only kidding. But it was really funny. So I'm glad you picked up on that part. Donna says, Yeah, loved Combat Joe. I was about to be mad at him. Exactly. Festa and D are in the house. What's up, Todd? Festa! Little member of the Godsmack crew hanging out with us tonight in the War Room. What's going on, Festa? How are ya? Remember the old days of standing in line at the Providence Civic Center 3 to 4 hours in December for a bracelet to return at another time to buy tickets for the June. Yeah, I remember bracelet days, like wristbands. I need to stand in line to get a wristband. I did that at the Worcester Centrum more times than I can even count. Love you too, Festa. Yeah, Festa's the best. You guys have no idea. He is just thebomb.com. Let's see. Saw Kiss and Rush there a long time ago. Yeah, there were some great shows at the Providence Civic Center. And, you know, there's a lot of new venues that are opening too. It's kind of crazy. Although I am really mad that the Worcester the auditorium, has not been reopened. It's such a beautiful venue that I saw the Offspring there. I saw the Black Crowes there. There were so many shows that I got to see. It's a beautiful old room, and it's just sitting there in Worcester right now and needs to be restored. I love that. Carrie, you just dated yourself by saying the Worcester Centrum. I know, but when I was in high school, waiting in line to get a wristband to buy tickets, that's what it was called. Centrum back in the day. Yeah, it was the Centrum. It was Great Woods. It was the Garden before it was the TD Garden, before it was the Fleet Center. It used to be called Harbor Lights and not the Pavilion of whatever bank they name it after for that season. Michael says it will always be the Centrum. Remember buying tickets at Macy's at the Burlington Mall. Yeah, like you would go and like wait in line, like in a department store to buy tickets. And there would be like one person and there would be a line out the door and just crazy. I saw Anthrax, Coal Chamber, and Pantera play at the auditorium in 98. The Worcester Auditorium, I know that there is, people that are trying to put together a restoration effort to bring that venue back. That venue needs to be brought back. It was a beautiful, beautiful venue, and it needs to be brought back. Let's see. Macy's in Natick, says Marcy. I remember getting tickets at Strawberries, Ticketmaster at Searstown. Yes, exactly. I remember when they started selling tickets over the phone. And it was like, what? You could call? And then you would just sit there and hit redial, and all your friends would be, and there was like no call waiting. So like you're all trying to get tickets. The struggle was real, and now you just end up with a ticket on your app. Kids these days, they just don't understand. The good old days, I miss them, says Jen. The Odd is in rough shape and would take a miracle to bring it back. I know, but it is a beautiful old venue, and these beautiful old venues in that gorgeous building, the facade of that building is gorgeous, and these are the kinds of places that need to be restored and saved. There is nothing like going to see music in an old building, in an old venue like that, and they need to be saved. Mickey says, Daddy's Junkie Music. I still keep in touch with the family, the Bramontes that own Daddy's, and, we have commiserated about the loss of Daddy's Junkie Music, kind of like the loss of WAF, and it's kind of the same thing. So, yeah, it's just sad. So I'm really glad you guys loved this episode. I know that this episode was really long, but there's no way to tell the story of these trips, just like the AAF to Afghanistan episode with producer Mike. There's just no way to tell these stories quickly because there's so many moving parts and there's so many things that one person remembers that the other person doesn't. And so this is just an episode you're going to have to take in bite-sized pieces. That brings me to this week's episode 76 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. And it is another member of a band that has already been represented on the podcast. We have already had Dee Snider from Twisted Sister on the show. And now episode 76 is going to feature JJ French from Twisted Sister, which, by the way, that's him right there in that amazing black and yellow outfit. JJ. Wow. Now, what you guys may not know about JJ French is that he wasn't just the guitar player in Twisted Sister. He is also a public speaker. He is a manager, has worked with bands like Seven Dust. He manages Twisted Sister now. And he recently wrote a book called Twisted Business: Lessons from My Life in Rock and Roll. And so not only is his book kind of a story about his upbringing and obviously his time in Twisted Sister and the roller coaster ride that a band like Twisted Sister went on. You know, there was the early years before they became famous. Then there was like the MTV years where Twisted Sister was just everywhere. Then there was the time when the band broke up and they were like persona non grata during like the grunge era. And then there was the reunion of Twisted Sister when they came out of retirement to raise money after 9/11 because they're all from New York. And the kind of, you know, future that the band has now, where even though the band's not together and touring, their music and their band is still an entity. The other thing about this JJ French book is that it's the business side of things. A lot of people ask questions about up and coming bands. How do they get successful? How do you navigate the business? And so JJ calls this book a bizarre. It's part memoir, part business kind of journal and instruction manual on how to succeed in the music business. And he also is a podcast host, and he is one of the most knowledgeable kind of rock and roll historians that I have ever met. And JJ and I started talking, and it was like, I think I asked him like 3 questions, and then we just started talking about the history of rock and roll, the history of rock in New York City. We had a really fascinating conversation about the suburbs of New York and the outer boroughs and the rock scene that was taking place there versus the New York Dolls and the kind of cool kids scene that was happening in Manhattan at the time. And so even if you're not a fan of Twisted Sister, if you're a fan of rock and roll, this is a really interesting episode because we really kind of dug deep into like the 70s. He calls the heyday of rock and roll 1971. And obviously in 2021, we've been celebrating the 50th anniversary of a lot of the amazing albums that came out 50 years ago, like Led Zeppelin 4 that just turned 50 last week. And he was talking about places like the Boston Tea Party, and all of the amazing ballrooms and the music scene and where certain artists would play and what it was like to grow up your teenage years in New York City, having access to artists like the Grateful Dead and Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin and Janis Joplin like all the time, because there were just so many clubs playing. And so he tells a lot of amazing stories about people like the New York Dolls, the Ramones, David Bowie. It's a really fascinating conversation about not only the history of rock and roll, but also what it's going to take for rock and roll to survive and to continue to evolve and to move forward into the future. And so I really think that you guys are going to love this episode. So JJ French is my guest on episode 76 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. And once again, this episode is sponsored by Digital Federal Credit Union, who you can find at dcu.org. And especially with all of the holidays coming up and a lot of the different amazing nonprofit organizations that are always looking for support at this time of year. DCU always does amazing work, but especially around the holidays. They are involved with so many just unbelievable fundraisers. And I'm just so happy to have them affiliated with the podcast because they have been by my side for so long. I mean, think about it this way. DCU helped to sponsor this trip 15 years ago, and it wouldn't have happened without him. And then they came back 5 years later and helped to make the Afghanistan trip happen. And so I've been doing business with DCU for a really long time, and I'm really, really grateful for all of their support and the love that they've shown me over the years. And So they're sponsoring this week's episode as well, which is episode 76, featuring the one and only JJ French from Twisted Sister. Don't forget, if you subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast, which you should just do no matter where you listen to podcasts, you also get the Sit Rep, which comes out every Monday through Friday, and it runs down all of the music news from that day. It's there first thing in the morning for you, and it's literally 5 minutes long. That's the limit. It's all your rock news, music headlines, and industry info in less than 5 minutes, so that you can just hear everything that's going on and move on with your day. But in the show notes of every episode, I also link to all the stories. So if I talk about something that you're really interested in, I make it pretty easy for you to go and find more of the information, or to find the link to, you could send it to somebody that you think is interested in whatever the story is that I was talking about. And speaking of the podcast, here is just a small sampling of the places that you can listen to the Mistress Carrie podcast. Basically, anywhere you listen to podcasts, just search the Mistress Carrie podcast, find this graphic right here, and you know you're in the right spot. You can also listen to the episodes on my Facebook page, and you can listen to them straight to my website at mistresscarrie.com. And this week, we're holding strong at 117 countries that are listening to the Mistress Carrie podcast. And this week, our friends in Italy are number 2 behind the U.S. in listenership this week on the Mistress Carrie podcast, which is awesome. So ciao to all of my friends in Italy that are checking out the podcast. There is a ton of music news to get to, so let's get at it. Mark Lanigan from the Screaming Trees has an upcoming book about his battle with COVID-19, and he had a pretty significant one. He lost his hearing and ended up in a coma because of COVID, and he wrote a book about it, and it comes out on December 14th, and it's called Devil in a Coma, and it'll be available everywhere. Going back to the early days of AAF and some of those early amazing in-studio performances that ended up on some of the radio station CDs that we sold for charity, you remember the Beth Hart Band, right? I have always loved her voice. I always felt like she was a reincarnation of like Janis Joplin, that she has just got this soul and wisdom in her voice. I just don't know where it comes from. Well, she has a new record coming out. It's called A Tribute to Led Zeppelin, and it's coming out on February 25th. And I think the first single's Communication Breakdown, and she released it already, and her voice is just tailor-made to cover Led Zeppelin. So I wanted to put that on your radar. Today, Metallica announced something called the Black Box, which is the same kind of thing as the Aerosmith Vindaloo Vaults and the Def Leppard Vault. I'm so happy that bands are doing this, that they are going back through their archives. And I'm talking archives, demos, photographs, stage clothes, mementos, instruments, memorabilia, and they are making it accessible for their fans to be. It's like an online museum of sorts. And Def Leppard has theirs up on their website already. When Aerosmith signed their deal with UMG and got all their records under the same record label, that deal also is going to open up the Vindaloo Vaults, which is coming up on Record Store Day, where you could get that Aerosmith rehearsal recording that Joe Perry made 50 years ago. It's that kind of stuff. It's all this amazing old archive stuff. And Metallica announced that they are going to do the Black Box, and it's going to have all of their stuff in it, and they're going to release stuff slowly. And I just am really excited about it. I love Metallica, and I'm super stoked to be able to kind of go and dig into all the stuff that they've saved. Michael says it's all the Navy guys in port in Naples. I hope so. I hope so. I love the fact that there's so many people in the military around the world that have been sharing my podcast and wanting to keep in touch with home a little bit by listening to the Mistress Carrie podcast. Brianna says, Beth Hart is a goddess. I've adored her since the 90s. Absolutely gives me the chills even today. I know she has this amazing voice, and she has found a lot of success, but she is still someone that's not a household name and really needs to be. I mean, she is just this I got to get her on the podcast. She is just this embodiment of rock and roll, and I just love her. Yeah, Jeff, Real Rock TV. She was on Real Rock TV. Eric, what do you mean anything new from Def Leppard? Well, they have their vault online. Rick Allen's been showing a lot of his artwork. And obviously the Def Leppard guys said they were working on some new music ideas, but also they got the stadium tour coming up next year with Motley Crue and Poison and Joan Jett. So speaking of Joan Jett, by the way, she just released an acoustic version of Bad Reputation because that album turned 40 and she's never done acoustic stuff before. And the acoustic version of Bad Reputation is available everywhere. Dream Theater have announced all of their rescheduled tour dates, and that includes a rescheduled date at the Wang Theater in Boston on February 25th. So that stuff is updated on the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Tickets are also on sale for Falling in Reverse, who are playing at the Songus in Lowell on the 21st of January. Those tickets are on sale. I had the guys from Turnstile on the podcast a few weeks ago, and I told you they were a band to keep an eye on. They are going to be at the Palladium coming up on May 21st. That show is up on the events calendar as well. New music coming out this week. The Darkness releasing Motorheart. Hearts and Hand Grenades coming out with Between the Lines. Gizmodrome. Now, we just had Adrian Ballou on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. Gizmodrome Live comes out on Friday. Robert Plant and Alison Krauss have their new album, their first together in 14 years, called Raise the Roof. It comes out on Friday. And don't forget, last time they came out with a record, it won 5 Grammys because it was amazing. And I have high hopes for this record as well. Also coming out on Friday, Achtung Baby is getting the 30th anniversary treatment. And there is all kinds of stuff coming out, including an amazing digital pack with a bunch of stuff that's never been made available digitally before, which is pretty cool. Opeth and Mastodon are playing at the Wang coming up on Thursday night. Theory of Dead Man is at the Palladium on Saturday. Starset and All Good Things are at the Palladium next week, as is Atreyu and Vendit. Corey Taylor and Clown from Slipknot's Sons band. It's actually Vended. I was corrected by a video that Corey Taylor put up today. So Corey Taylor from Slipknot. Slipknot's off the road. Clown's recovering from tearing his bicep, hitting a keg with a baseball bat. Corey went and had some dental work done and his mouth was all numb. You guys have to go and watch the video that he put up on Twitter today because Vended released their EP and they're getting ready to go out on the road. And so Corey took to social media to kind of give his son's band a little bit of a plug. But Corey could barely talk because of the dental work he just had done. So the video is pretty hilarious. And also the Trans-Siberian Orchestra has got 2 shows coming up next Saturday, the 27th. There is a 3 p.m. matinee show and an 8 p.m. show. And tickets for all of these shows are available right now, and you will find the links on the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com. As a reminder, Brandon Boyd from Incubus has a solo album coming out this Friday as well. Oh, no, actually, the solo album's coming out next year. The first single from the solo album, called Pocket Knife, is coming out this Friday. The Tom Petty Somewhere You Feel Free documentary, The Making of Wildflowers, is now available for free on his official YouTube channel. If you guys are Tom Petty fans, you can go and watch that. Kiss announced that their Drink It Up line of liquors is available in 25 states. There's 3 different rums, and yes, there's cold gin, and they are all available. They made the announcement today. The Beatles, Let It Be on Disney Plus, which is the Peter Jackson 3-night series with all of this amazing Beatles footage of them writing this record, is coming out on November 25th, 26th, and 27th. I cannot get enough of all this Beatles stuff that's been coming out. And actually, Paul McCartney said after he watched this Peter Jackson docuseries, it changed. Watching it as an observer instead of being in the middle of it, Paul McCartney said it changed how he feels about the Beatles breakup. And it kind of changed his mind about some things, which is kind of mind-blowing. Don't forget, Bruce Dickinson's spoken word tour is rolling into the Schubert on February 5th. Those tickets went on sale last Friday. Typo, that means you have to drink. Anybody new to the War Room, that anytime I make a typo on the screen, you have to drink. So cheers to you. Volbeat and Ghost Those tickets are on sale right now to see them at the DCU Center on their co-headlining tour, February 11th. Don't forget, Evanescence and Hailstorm are going to be at the DCU on the 18th of December as well. And the Dropkick Murphys tickets went on sale. They're playing 3 shows at the House of Blues, St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, the 18th and the 19th at the House of Blues. And then they're playing the 20th at a new venue. This is what I was telling you about. So while some older venues are gone, there's newer venues that are opening, including this new music venue called Roadrunner, which is on Guest Street in Brighton. Recognize the address? It's right down the street from the old radio station. Like, we could have had a music venue literally in staggering distance. Yeah, I know. And speaking of the old radio station, announced this week, they just announced it yesterday, the WAF Big Gig 50 Years Plus 2, they're calling it. Godsmack is coming back to headline the show. That we knew. It's going to be Godsmack's first show in over 3 years because they've been off. They've been working on music. They're supposed to be getting ready to go in the studio like right after the new year and record all the music that they've been writing. Godsmack headlining at the DCU Center on April 30th. And 3 Days Grace, Black Veil Brides, Wage War, and Lilith Czar are all going to be added to the lineup as well. If you already have tickets to the WAF Big Gig, hold on to them because they're going to be good that night. If you don't have them yet, you'll be able to get them now. Eric wants to know where the House of Blues is. The House of Blues in Boston, it's on Lansdowne Street behind the Green Monster. Down the street from Bill's Bar. It used to be Axis and Avalon. It's actually a really great place to see a show. The only thing about the House of Blues in Boston that I find is that you get stuck in line. Like, security is slow. It's always been notoriously slow getting into the House of Blues in Boston. So you kind of have to get there early to kind of wait in line to get in. But I feel like the shows always sound really good. The sight lines are good. I don't think I've ever seen a bad show at the House of Blues in Boston. And the Dropkick Murphys play there, in a series of shows every year around St. Patrick's Day. But this year, they're playing that new venue, Roadrunner, which is pretty interesting. And there's also another venue that is opening up on the end of Lansdowne Street. So if you would go to the House of Blues or Axis or Avalon, all those clubs were on the left-hand side. When you got towards the end of Lansdowne Street, there was always a parking lot behind center field at Fenway where they used to have all the satellite trucks and stuff. There's a new venue that's getting built there. And then there's Big Night Live that opened at the Garden. So I'm really excited that there's all this, all of these new venues. Again, it was a really bad time to get rid of a rock station in Boston that played new music because there's so many places to go see live music now. Let's see. I might have to fly back for the big gig, says Brito. House of Blues line is long in Orlando too. Yeah, I don't know what it is. The last show I saw before the pandemic really kicked in was at the end of February last year at the House of Blues in Vegas. And that line was really long to get in as well. Let's see. I always throw nips in my pants and my bra just in case I run out of booze, says Heidi. Ryan says, love the House of Blues. Sold out at the House of Blues. The Lansdowne Great Restaurant. Yeah, that is a really good place. So there's a lot of really exciting stuff going on. Super excited to finally, this was supposed to be our big 50th anniversary party. We planned the show went on sale, and then the radio station went off the air, and so many people had tickets. And it was one of those things where it was like, is the show still going to happen? And so I'm really happy that the show is still happening because I feel like we had the sign off on the air for AAF. And then we went into lockdown because of COVID. And we still haven't really gotten back to concerts at full speed yet. And just the shows that I've been able to go to, so many people have come up to me and they want to talk about AAF, and it's weird because it's been so long, but we haven't been able to get together. So it's like, we need that closure. So I feel like this is going to be a really cool way for us to kind of cap off everything that's happened. Mike Shue and I are going to host the show, so we will definitely be there. As far as who else is going to be coming from the AAF days, I don't know yet, but I know that invitations are being sent out as we speak. I want to remind you guys about your Mistress Carrie deal. Now, here is a great way to get some shopping taken care of off of your shopping list. If there's someone on your shopping list, someone in your family, your wife, husband, mother-in-law, whoever it is that likes to drink tea, Tiesta Tea sells these gourmet loose teas, and they sell gift packs. They sell all of the stuff, you know, whether it be the little filter bags for them or they sell cups that have like a screen in them. But this is really good. It's like going and getting really good coffee. Like, this is really good tea, and there's a bunch of different flavors. And if you have a tea lover on your shopping list, you can just get one of their gift packs. You don't even have to know what kind of tea the people like, because then they'll be able to try out all the different ones. You can get 15% off everything that you buy if you use the code CARRY15. There's a link in my blog at mistresscarrie.com. But I always try to bring you guys Mistress Carrie deals to not only help with taking care of your shopping, but I'm always trying to get you guys a deal on stuff too. So they sent me a big box of stuff for me to try. I've only tried a couple of them. I have not tried the blueberry one yet, though. I got to try it, and then I'll let you guys know. Maybe I'll do that before next week. Nothing in the mail call this week. You guys have spoiled me lately with all of the crazy stuff. So Wednesday thanks you for all of the toys and wieners and everything that you guys have been sending her. So nothing to report in the mail call this week, but I just always appreciate you guys thinking of me. So thank you. Record Store Day is coming up next Friday, Black Friday. Record Store Day, for anyone that doesn't know, is something that the industry started years back. And it's a way for artists and record labels to be able to support independently owned brick and mortar record stores. And the artists release limited edition vinyl, collectibles. You know, the last Record Store Day earlier, because there's two every year. The last one earlier this year, the Foo Fighters released Hail Satin, which was their Beatles cover album. They released it on vinyl. Usually there's a limited number of copies, and you have to actually go to the record stores to get them. And we're lucky enough to have a lot of amazing local record stores around. And Joe's Albums not only is in Worcester, but also they just opened a new location a few weeks ago in Northampton. And that is one of the places that always does amazing business around Record Store Day, because they really take pride in the vinyl that they have. So not only do they have new release vinyl there, they also deal in all of the reissues that are coming out, like the U2 Octung Baby I was telling you about. And then they also have used vinyl. And so there are a lot of people that maybe have vinyl in the house, inherited vinyl. You don't have a record player. It's taking up space in your apartment. You don't want to get rid of it, but you kind of have to. You don't know what it's worth. Maybe you need some money to pay some bills and you are willing to part with your vinyl. Before you just put it up on eBay or something, you're better off taking it to an expert, because Joe at Joe's Albums is going to be able to tell you, because of the condition of the packaging, the condition of the actual vinyl, what this stuff is worth, and they want to buy it from you. And they professionally clean their vinyl. So when you buy used stuff from them, it's really good condition. The store is immaculate. You can tell it's run by audiophiles and people that love music. And they now carry Mistress Carrie merchandise as well, which I am so grateful for. So Joe's Albums, it's literally like 5 doors down from the Palladium, right on Main Street in Worcester. And there's also the new location at Market Street in Northampton, which I read today. Northampton just got its 9th pot dispensary. 9 in Northampton alone. Take 5 seconds out of the weed dispensaries and go to Joe's Albums before you can't leave the house. You probably can't find a Pringle within 20 miles of Northampton. It's insane. Let's see. I love blueberry cobbler, says Ryan. Don't we all? I'm smoking a turkey, says Heidi. Delicious. I've heard good things about them. I'm hoping you're talking about Joe's Albums. They're great. Let's see. Who remembers Strawberries Records back in the day? Eric, how can you not? How can you not? Kevin's putting the link to Joe's albums up. There's also a link in my blog at mistresscarrie.com that's got all of that up there as well. Let's see. Diamante, Dorothy, 3 Days Grace, Chevelle, Breaking Benjamin. So great, says Shannon. Smoke weed every day, says Brito. Are you and Shu, are you going to Shu his peanut butter cup or pie? So Mike Shu was talking about the Reese's peanut butter cup pie that Hershey's released, and they're like limited and they sold out in like 5 seconds, and now people are hawking them on the internet for like $400. It's crazy. Jeff, you 100% vinyl is making a comeback. Not only because people like to actually like own the albums that they love, but what I'm loving is that people are understanding that like music is this communal thing, right? So you have a party and now you have your records out on a shelf and people comb through your records and you're talking about the records and you're talking about the memories. And then you take out the turntable and you start playing albums, and music all of a sudden becomes a social thing rather than just clicking a Spotify playlist at a party. Like, vinyl is an experience, and it has 100% made a comeback. Thanks in part to people like Jack White and Third Man Records. It's actually really hard to for the bands to get vinyl printed because there's a backlog because there's only so many factories that print vinyl. Third Man Records actually makes their own vinyl, and it's one of the only places. Jack White bought the factory with all the equipment. And what I found out from Joe, actually, at Joe's albums, is that the same vinyl they make records out of is the vinyl that they make vinyl flooring out of. And because so many people have been doing home improvement projects because of COVID, there's a vinyl shortage. And so albums have been slow to come out. Bands have been releasing a record digitally or whatever, and then like 2 months later, the vinyl will come out. It's not because they want to do it that way. It's because it takes a long time to get the vinyl records printed. But it is making a comeback. And if you don't have a turntable, Joe's albums has them all too. All right, let's talk about birthdays. Dave Kushner from Jane's Addiction and Velvet Revolver. He was born on this date. And also Brian Abrams from Color Me Bad was born on this date. So if today is your birthday, that's who you share it with. Happy birthday to you. Happy unbirthday to Keith. Cheers to all of the birthday people out there. That's the other thing about vinyl too, is you can get it autographed, and they sell those vinyl frames, which I love. I have a bunch of framed vinyl in my house too, and autograph stuff. And it's like, I love that you can get a vinyl, like if you get into a meet and greet or something, you get an album signed, you get it framed, it's up on the wall, you get to look at the artwork. I just think it's awesome. Let's see. Cheers. When is Keith's real birthday? Christina wants to know. Does it matter? Every day is Keith's unbirthday except one day a year. Vinyl does have better audio than compressed digital. Absolutely. That's why if you go and listen to stuff like, and you got to have good headphones, but if you got a good turntable and you got good headphones and you go and listen to something like Floyd or Hendrix, go and listen to those Beatles records. Go back and listen to the Toby Wright episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast, because we talked about this, about how albums, and you know who else talked about this? Rob Caggiano from Volbeat and I talked about this as well, that when bands mix and master their album, they do it for the digital releases, and it has to be mixed and mastered in a different way for a vinyl release because of the way that the vinyl sounds, and it sounds different. It's fascinating stuff. But those are two episodes you should definitely go and listen to. The Rob Caggiano from Volbeat episode, if you haven't listened to that one, and the Toby Wright episode. Both of those will explain a lot about the vinyl thing. So yeah, go back and listen to those. All right, speaking of shows, I want to say what's up to everybody with the Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass. We got together on Sunday night. We did our monthly private live stream, And we do that once a month. So if you have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, you can submit interview questions. You jump in on the live stream every month. Right now for the Backstage Pass holders, there's a little bit of a contest/challenge. So when I'm on the radio and I'm doing my radio shows, I have this booklet that I keep my notes in because I'm doing multiple radio shows a day. And so I want to be able to keep track of what show I talked about a certain thing. So if I'm talking about the Metallica Black Box announcement that came out today, 3 hours into, a 5-hour day on the radio, I'm like, wait, did I talk about the Metallica Black Box on this show or this show? So I have these sheets where I keep track of all of this stuff. And what I noticed is that because it's all happening so fast, I have my own shorthand. I have my own abbreviations for bands, band members, just music related things. And so for the Backstage Pass holders, I put up this long list of abbreviations to see if everybody could guess them all. And so the Backstage Pass holders are working on that right now. So I put some tickets up for grabs, and we'll see if anybody gets them all right. As of right now, I think there's one person that got 5 wrong, and that is as good as anybody's done so far, but I have to go back and check it. But there's a lot of stuff going on with the Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass. One of the things that I did with the Backstage Pass holders on Sunday night is that we were talking about the Boston to Baghdad trip podcast episode. And I was able to show them some of the pictures that I haven't shown anybody else from the trip. And that's the kind of stuff you get on the Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass. You also get access to exclusive ticket giveaways. Right now, Backstage Pass holders have access to tickets to Theory of a Dead Man, Atreyu, Falling in Reverse, and Starset and All Good Things. And so if you have a Backstage Pass and you want some of those tickets, you got to let me know. You know how to do it. And if you don't have a Backstage Pass yet, you can get them on patreon.com/Mistress Carrie, or you can click the Patreon button at mistresscarrie.com. And also want to remind you of all of the places you can find me on social. Here you go. And of course, they're all linked at mistresscarrie.com. So a lot going on, guys. No, you can't have clues. Oh, Keith is giving out clues to when his actual birthday is, as opposed to his unbirthday. Let's see. Dark Side of the Moon on vinyl. Yeah. And that's one of those ones that, you got to watch The Wizard of Oz too. It's like, put it on there. Trina, you did not miss mail call because nothing came in the mail call this week. So we breezed right by it. So there you go. What else did I want to tell you guys? Oh, I wanted to talk about Thanksgiving before we finish the show tonight because we've been so on the ball. We started the show on time. There was only one typo. Wednesday showed up. What's going on? The show's organized this week. What are you guys doing for Thanksgiving? So I want to let you guys know we decided to get the whole family together this year. We usually have a big Thanksgiving dinner. I have everybody at my house, so it's usually pretty crazy. Last year, we obviously didn't get together for the holidays because, there's people in the family that are immunocompromised and we're really, really worried about getting sick. People that have battled cancer and that are diabetic, and obviously everything going on with my mom. We just wanted to be super, super careful. Not only anybody with like a pre-existing condition, but like my fear with anyone that has any kind of dementia, Alzheimer's, any kind of memory issues. Imagine how traumatic it would be if you got COVID and ended up getting hospitalized and you have memory issues and you don't remember there's a pandemic and you don't recognize anyone in the hospital because everyone's wearing all of those crazy coveralls because you're a COVID patient and your family can't come and see you. Horrifying. So we've been really, really careful. And so this year we decided, because everyone's vaccinated in the family, that we decided that we were going to get together and have Thanksgiving dinner, partly because we want my mom to be able to see the family and we want everyone in the family to be able to spend time with mom. So that is happening on Thursday. And then I believe we are going to go and see the Trans-Siberian Orchestra that weekend, which I'm pretty excited about as well. So I will be getting drunk with no pants on Thanksgiving, Keith says. Heinz says I might volunteer. I got to tell you, so can I tell you guys this story really quick? So you guys know earlier this year, my friend Mike that I was in Afghanistan with passed away. And he's the guy that the Purple Heart that I have that's hanging on the wall here in the war room that I showed you guys. Every year on Thanksgiving, Mike used to go and serve Thanksgiving dinner to homeless veterans. And it was something that he was super proud to do. And he said was so fulfilling and that he just loved doing it. And he said it made him feel really good. And, you know, to be surrounded by his fellow veterans, but also to be doing something good and to make sure that they had a wonderful Thanksgiving that was filled with love and dignity. And so I think that anyone that does that kind of thing around the holidays, to give up your own holiday in service to others, I think is a remarkable thing. And so it always, when Thanksgiving comes around, he would always text me pictures wearing like the hairnet, because, you know, if you're cooking the food for everybody, that you had to wear the gloves and the hairnet. And he would always send me selfies from cooking and serving dinner with veterans. And it just always reminds me of him. And it's one of those things that, when somebody's gone, you always want to, remember the good stuff and bring up those amazing stories. And so with Thanksgiving coming up, I've been thinking about him a lot, because I would get those selfies, which were hilarious and totally embarrassing. And I did give some of those to his family so that they could put him in the photo montage at his wake and his funeral. So everyone could partake in pictures of Mike in his hairnet. Marcy, she's asking who passed away. It was one of the guys I was in Afghanistan with that passed away earlier this year. But just Thanksgiving makes me think of him. So anybody that, doesn't have plans, if you are just, if your family's not getting together, sorry, I have this piece of hair that's like driving me crazy. If your family's not getting together, there are so many places that you can volunteer on Thanksgiving Day. And I would encourage you to do that, because Mike always talked about how amazing it was for him. But I'm going to have my whole family here. My sister and I have a little tradition. We get up in the morning to put the turkey in the oven. We drink mimosas and we eat cinnamon rolls and Rice Krispie treats for breakfast every year. Because we're the ones getting up at the ass crack of dawn to put the turkey in the oven. So yeah. So you guys are talking about Chris Daughtry's daughter as well. Yeah. So Chris Daughtry has postponed tour dates because his 25-year-old stepdaughter, Hannah, passed away. They are investigating. They have not said the cause of death yet, but the authorities are investigating and they're waiting on the results of the autopsy. So that's what I have going on. One of the other traditions that we always have is we always have spiked hot apple cider on the stove. And so the family comes over and they always have their own favorite like mugs for the spiked hot apple cider. And there's just something about like eating Thanksgiving dinner and then everybody kind of passes out on the sectional in the living room and they're just clutching these mugs of hot cider. And we didn't get to do it last year. So I'm glad that we're going to be able to do that this year. But yeah, the mimosas and the Rice Krispie treats and the cinnamon rolls for breakfast, I'm telling you, we only do it twice a year. We do it for Christmas and Thanksgiving because we cook dinner for the family on Christmas and Thanksgiving, and it's delicious. Annette, they said calling Chris Daughtry's daughter, calling it a homicide was premature. So they have not confirmed anything yet. They're investigating, and they want the results of the autopsy, and they want to finish their investigation. Auntie Ange says she'll be here for cider, so it's pretty delicious. I make damn good cider. Who gets the 100-ounce mug this year, says Brito. Let me tell you what. If you drank 100 ounces of my spiked hot apple cider, you would sleep from Thanksgiving until Christmas. You would not be able to function. No way. So I hope you guys have an amazing Thanksgiving. I hope your families are able to get together because most families weren't able to do it last year. And Michelle, I did not see that. Her daughter's boyfriend was arrested. I did not see that. So I will go and look that up because I haven't done the sit rep yet for tomorrow. So I want to make sure that it's accurate. Would you be legless? You'd be more than legless, Tracy. I'm telling you, my apple cider, you don't taste the booze. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. I make it when I tailgate at a Pats game. If I know it's going to be super cold in the parking lot because it's nice and warms the soul. Heinz says, just want you to know I'm thankful for you. Thank you, Heinz. I appreciate that. One more cheers before we end the show. I really hope you guys are able to have a wonderful holiday. I know I'm going to see you guys next week, but we're going to be like head on into holiday travel for some people. So some people might not be able to join us in the War Room next week. And so I wanted to make sure to all of those people, we know you're going to be with us in spirit. If you are traveling, sit your family down next Tuesday night and have them join us in the War Room and let me know where you guys are all at and who's hanging out with us. Yes, the Pats game was awesome, Eric. It's nice to see the team showing some life and rallying around a rookie quarterback. It's a little reminiscent of so many years ago. All right, guys. Have a great night. Thank you guys, as always, for always being here with me. 158 episodes and counting. Don't forget the new episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast, episode 76, featuring JJ French from Twisted Sister, author, band manager, public speaker, business expert. He is on the podcast starting at midnight tonight. And I will see you guys next Tuesday night right here in the War Room for episode 159. All right, guys. Good night. I love you guys. I'll see you soon. Wednesday says good night too. Bye.